Okay, so good afternoon. As you know, my name is Megan, and I just wanted to thank you for taking time to join this call so we can discuss how COVID has impacted your business in 2020. So let's get started. The first question of the day is really simple. Can you share with us your name and your practice area?
I'm Joleena Louis, and I'm a divorce and family law attorney.
Okay, great. Thank you so much again, Jolena, for being a part of this call with us. Um, Before the pandemic, how would you characterize your practice and like overall, how were you doing?
Before the pandemic, my practice was doing really well. I was virtual, still at law firm suites, just all running all over the city, really, really busy. But I already had like a virtual office infrastructure. So.
Okay. So when news of the pandemic started to unfold and everyone kind of realized that COVID was actually a big deal, how did it impact your practice?
So initially, I was definitely one of those people who thought this was just going to be like a couple of weeks. We shut down, flatten the curve, and we'd be back in business. So I kind of wasn't prepared for how, I don't think anybody was, how long it was going to be. Um, so the biggest impact on my practice was when the courts closed. So I do litigation. I'm in court most of the time. So that was like a big thing. Initially, it was like, okay, a couple weeks, kind of get a break for a few weeks, but then it dragged on and on. And, as the courts aren't open, the cases aren't moving, nothing is happening. Those first couple of months were a little bit tough because, you know, if I'm not going to court, I'm not making money. The cases aren't moving forward, I'm not making money. So everything kind of shut down for a couple months there. So it was really tough in the beginning.
Yeah, we heard a lot of attorneys were kind of just like put out once the courts closed. They were just like, oh, dang, all right, this is going to be more than we really thought it was going to be. Because COVID really just, it came in like slow and steady and then it just like took over and everyone was like, oh man. But when you started to notice the changes and how COVID was really going to affect your practice, how did you pivot in a way that worked for you in order to still be successful in 2020?
So the way that I pivoted was I decided to use the downtime to expand my practice, to focus on marketing when I didn't really have actual client work while the courts were closed. I ramped up my social media marketing. I added some practice areas. Like I was doing a little bit of adoptions. I took some CLEs to kind of expand on that because I had the time and things slowed down. I actually reached out to a lot of my former clients because of understanding that because of COVID and things shutting down, there were some custody issues and, people were out of work and there was some child support issues coming up. So I reached out to past clients, like if you have some new issues because of COVID or if you're having any custody issues, feel free to reach out to me. So I really just tried to use that downtime productively to focus on bringing in old business and getting new business in because I knew at some point the court was going to reopen and things could kind of get back on track.
That's good to hear that you actually took the time to like hone in on some of your skills and then, you know, do what's necessary to gain more skills for the advancement of your practice. A lot of lawyers actually took a deep dive into their marketing strategy and started to change the way that they were doing things or the way they were marketing themselves to their clients. And you mentioned you went on, social media and you kind of revamped that. Um, what other ways did you use your marketing strategy or did you change your marketing tactic to be successful?
So one of the things was since I already had a virtual practice, it was really easy. Like it wasn't a major change as far as like interacting with clients. So I could just jump right into the Zoom consultations with no problems. I had everything set up to do everything virtually. So that's definitely something that I focused on and marketed. I had my email list already. So again, with the new COVID, like updates with the court and things that were going on and custody issues. And it was easy for me to kind of just send out mass emails to people already on my list, people who I knew already had, for example, like child custody issues. I could send them a mass email about COVID and how, that would affect custody, things like that. So I kind of just took the things that I had in place already and kind of, focused on how I could provide information about this, what was going on about COVID as it relates to those, practice areas based on the channels that I already had. So my Instagram and my email list and Facebook ads and things like that.
Okay. Was there anything that you tried with your marketing strategy, or not even necessarily in your marketing strategy, that kind of failed? Like, did you try a new approach to gain more clientele and it just didn't pan out the way that you thought it was going to?
I wouldn't say that I tried any, well, new approaches necessarily. I did in the beginning spend a lot of time doing like virtual coffees and virtual networking with people, and it just got really exhausting, especially once court restarted and like everything is, you get Zoom fatigue and you're like, okay, I'm tired of going to these meetings. And so that became a little bit difficult for me. But other than that, just as far as like continuing with the social media marketing and things like that, it was just building on things that I had already done.
Was there anything that you did to kind of help with that Zoom fatigue, as you mentioned? Since courts are now online and you were already meeting your clients online, what did you do in your downtime to kind of make the super virtual aspect of your practice seem more, I don't know, like relaxing, I want to say?
Well, I don't know if I did anything to make it more relaxing, but certainly I definitely had to learn to say no to things like some of
Hmm.
the networking things that were just exhausting to me because I was just so tired of the Zoom. And to only do things that were, valuable, that had direct value to either helping my clients or marketing, getting new clients. And if it wasn't something that, could directly assist in either of those goals, I kind of learned to say no to some things. I didn't have to do everything. I didn't have to go on every panel. I didn't have to go to every virtual networking event because it did become overwhelming, at some point. So just finding that balance of
Hmm.
what I want to do and what I need to do.
Finding a balance is really important. So I'm glad that you actually said something like that, because a lot of time when there are things going on that we can't control externally, we start like taking on so much because, we get kind of anxious about, when's the money coming in, or just the sustainability of your practice. So being able to say, no, I'm not interested, or just finding like a middle ground, it's always so refreshing to hear people say, because they don't think about the stress of it all. They kind of focus on like just being a go-getter and trying to like stay above the water. And it's like sometimes it's okay to coast, or sometimes it's okay to just take a break and not swim at this moment. So have you realized that, wow, okay, so the COVID-19 pandemic, has it positively impacted your practice in any way?
I would say that yes, it has. Well, certainly, as a divorce attorney, business has been through the roof. It definitely has gone up a lot. I think that a lot of people, after being quarantined, with their spouses, if you already had cracks in the foundation, this was kind of push you over the edge. So a lot of new cases, a lot of new divorces. The first couple months, like I said, when the courts were closed, it was a little rough. But after that, things have, certainly gone up dramatically. And I think, just this has definitely pushed me 100% into the virtual realm. I was already there, but like like in-person consultations. Like, I don't know if I'm going to go back to doing that,
Hmm.
because I think a lot of people have adapted and they're okay with doing the Zoom consultations or phone consultations. So it's not necessarily expected or necessary to do the in-person anymore. And I feel like I took the time to kind of definitely kind of hone in on some of my systems and processes to keep everything paperless and online, and just really easy to manage. And I can run my whole practice from anywhere.
Right. Having the realization that now you can do everything virtual, has that affected your desire or your want to come back into an office setting? um like, I know you said that you're meeting with your clients virtually and everyone's okay with that, but do you ever foresee yourself in the next few years, or even a few months, being comfortable with coming back into an office and meeting with people?
Oh, absolutely. Um, I certainly there are some situations where it's beneficial to sit face to face in person with
Mhm.
clients, to have meetings and everything. And just I'm tired of being in my house, so just going somewhere else. I do appreciate the ability to just go somewhere and work for a few hours in an office setting, and to be around other people
Right.
in person and other lawyers in person again. I'm actually looking forward to that. But I like just having the flexibility that this is not something
Hmm.
I have to do all the time, but I
Yeah.
have the option.
Do you have an action plan kind of in place for when you do come into the office? Like, for instance, Law Firm Suites has provided like sanitizer, and we got like plexiglass screens at the reception desk, and in some of the larger conference rooms, so people who want to use them have the option to use them. Have you put anything in place like that you would do when you come into the office? Like, what are your guidelines or regulations for when you meet with people in person?
So again, depending on the situation, definitely requiring like mask and
Hmm.
distancing. If I get to the point where I'm meeting people in the conference room, I would opt for a bigger conference room so we can have space. It sounds like you guys have, all the precautions in place with the plexiglass and the sanitizer and everything. So just kind of building off of that, and just having my own personal, like, PPE and protection as well.
Hmm. Yeah, we've really just been trying to make everyone feel more comfortable with the situation that's at hand. What are one or two things that motivated you to push forward during the pandemic?
Well, first of all, that I just have to keep my business going. I have to pay my rent. So that was just definitely one thing. Like, I can't, as a business owner, we get paid when we work. So I couldn't just sit back and not do anything, because I have bills to pay. So I had to keep pushing. And it's a really tough time, just like emotionally and mentally. It's draining. It's a scary time. A lot of people are dying. I lost family members. My father had COVID, and he was in the ICU, for a few weeks, and it was a very scary time. And for me, like, focusing on work and focusing on my business and things that I can kind of control kind of helps me get through this complicated time, and helping my clients as well, because they're going through this similar difficult issues, and being able to help them resolve some of their problems. And at least I can do something during this crazy time to help someone. That makes a difference for me.
That's good to hear, and I'm sorry to hear about your father, and I hope all is well with him. Um, were you able to stay in touch with, or kind of like lean on any of your other attorney colleagues during this pandemic?
Oh, absolutely. So, one of the things that kind of kept me going is I'm in a lot of attorney Facebook groups, and a lot of the law firm suites members are in some of these groups with me as well. And just having people to talk to. They're going through the same issues, the same problems, getting updates about the courts. Like, so many people have been so great at like just sharing information, so that we're all on the same page and we all know what's going on. It's been incredibly helpful.
Do you feel like any of the relationships that you've had, within law firm suites or even in your other networking groups, that they've grown and kind of becoming stronger during this?
Absolutely. I think that they have. And I think that people, especially since we're all kind of going through this together, people have been more open, like about their personal lives and personal things. And, I've gotten to know a lot of people a lot, better than I have before the pandemic. Just talking to them and just kind of, commiserating on what's been going on together. So.
Is there anything that you can share that's like a funny or an interesting anecdote that might have happened in 2020 with the client personally? Anything that you think would, that was just a little funny or interesting?
Um, I don't know if there's anything that was funny, but I would say that I think that all of this happened. It was like good timing for me. So in February, right before everything got shut down, I went to the Bahamas on vacation and I dislocated my knee. So I was on crutches. It was like I had to go through physical therapy. And, I was so stressed out, like, how I'm going to get to court, how am I going to do all these things? And, the pandemic happens. I'm going through physical therapy and everything, and court is virtual now. So I don't have to worry about it. So it just kind of made me laugh, like, okay, well, at least if this was going to happen, this was the right time because it kind of all balanced out.
Right. It
In
was
the
like you're
end.
pushed to kind of like slow down and actually rest.
Exactly.
I know that you wrote a book this year or last year.
Oh, yes, yes. So it was just all of my different blog posts and things like that. I kind of just, it was a collection of like some more popular ones.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah.
Have you been able to push it at all during your downtime?
Not as much as I should.
Mhm.
Because again, it's things have been like really crazy in my practice. It's gotten a lot busier. There's a lot of divorces going on. So it's been a lot of working on my in my practice than on my practice right now.
Okay, that makes sense because you see a lot of like memes and like funny videos online about COVID spiking the divorce rate too. And it's like families are falling apart, blame COVID. And it's like, no, you should have checked your foundation in the first place. So like I always saw things like that and I thought to myself, that's so interesting. And I wonder if it's actually true. So hearing that from you is like, okay, no, some people are really struggling.
Yes.
Um, being that your practice has like grown so much and did so well in 2020, what is your outlook for this year, 2021? Like what are your goals and like what are you aspiring to accomplish this year?
Honestly, this year I'm just trying to get through get through this year, kind of get things back to semi-normal. I did hire last year at the end of the year a full-time assistant, which has
Okay.
been super helpful, managing all of that. I do think that I want to, work on maybe hiring an associate next year. So this 2021, I just want to focus on kind of maintaining the business is going really well. And I just want to maintain that for
Mhm.
now and get myself set up to hire the associate.
That makes sense. And I'm really happy to hear that your practice has thrived so much in 2020. Because a lot of attorneys had to, close the door and hang up their
Right.
practices because it just wasn't making sense for them. And they didn't belong in communities that could push them and give them, the motivation that they needed to survive. So
Right.
thank you so much again for taking the time out of your day, your busy day, to actually sit down and do the Zoom interview with me. We it like means so much. So thank you so much, Joleena.
Thank you for having me. And if I can just say one thing, like law firm suites have been like completely amazing throughout this whole thing. Like as far as me being able to run my practice, even everything shut down, I'm still getting my mail sent to
Mhm.
me. I stayed in Connecticut for a while. It was no problem having it switched over. Like I just everything just kept running smoothly, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for being, such a big part of our community.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
You too.